All right, so we should be live now, and I'm going to leave the chat open. And all yours, Ahmed. Did we lose Ahmed? Did y'all lose me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
I can hear Ahmed.
Oh, I can't hear Ahmed.
And you. Uh-oh. Did you mute him in Zoom on your end?
No, I don't know how that's possible.
Huh. Well, hopefully the stream, it's coming through on the stream. Actually, I have the stream open. Hold on one second. Never mind. I can't get back to that workspace. But I can hear him, so I guess we can assume that others can hear him too.
Great. If you can hear him, I'm gonna try to fix me, and we'll bounce a second and be right back.
Okay, let me check if
Finn, can you hear him?
I can hear him now, but I wasn't hearing him a few minutes ago.
Okay. Cool. So hopefully it's fixed now.
I was able to hear Ahmed in the YouTube stream as I was cycling Zoom.
All right, good.
Yay.
So we should be good.
Okay, can you hear me all?
Yes, a little bit hard to hear. Maybe speak up or come close to the mic.
Okay. I'm not sure what's that. Oh, okay. Let me check. How about now?
That's better.
Perfect.
Good.
Okay, so okay, so I was saying, like I have been, so I haven't been active in the mentorship for the last 2 weeks. So AJ was responsible for the kickoff meetings and also like following up on any issues that arise. So if AJ, can you give us like a quick like feedback on what happened and stuff like that?
Sure. All right. Well, I can try. I had a personal issue come up today, so I wasn't able to prepare for this meeting at all. But I did have at least 2 kickoff meetings. I thought today was going to be the last, but then somebody reached out to me on Slack and said, "Hey, when's my meeting?" And I was like, "That's a good question." I realized I had not set up a meeting for them yet because I had emailed their mentor asking them to fill out the doodle, and they never responded to me, nor did they fill out the doodle, which kind of brings me to an agenda item I wanted to discuss. I was going to open an issue, but like I said, I wasn't able to prepare anything this morning. So it was well, I can wait for that till there's time in the agenda. But yeah, the short version is there haven't been any real issues. People have reached out to me with a few questions on Slack, nothing major. We did a couple of kickoff meetings, so at least 2 more groups are going now currently. So I think that brings us up to 4 pairs, or 5, including you, I believe. You and you, Ahmed and Dan. But I don't have that in front of me, so I don't know if that's accurate. But that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Great. 5 down, 10 folks through the pipeline, 500, 450, 490 to go. Yeah, great. Progress.
Also, we had, I remember you told me someone dropped off someone did the matching process, then they dropped off. I'm not sure which one.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. One of Ben's mentees dropped out, but me and Ben both thought it would be best to just leave him with the single mentee for now, to not slow things down. And we just had a kickoff meeting today, and now I realized as of yesterday that we have to have yet another one. So I don't want to make the first round go on forever. So
right.
That's kind of what we decided so far. That's not set in stone if you guys think differently, but
I mean, I would leave some of that up to Ben and his bandwidth, but at this point we're so close to kicking off the next iteration that I think it would behoove us more to just basically plan to have Ben potentially early in the cycles if you have more if you feel like you have more bandwidth to continue doing multiple mentees, then let's just queue up Ben as our early in the cohort 2 pairing.
That's what I was thinking too. I'd rather, because things are going really well with Jennifer right now, and I think it will be a good kind of example of what we're going for. So I don't see a reason to throw another person in the first round.
Great.
Awesome. Also, Ben, so I didn't completely follow up on the chat that you shared on Slack about Zibi and posting something on Medium. If you can quickly recap that in the meeting so everyone can discuss it.
Yeah, do you want me to bring it up now?
Yeah.
Basically, so my mentee, Jennifer Bland, had written a couple articles, and one she was hoping she'd be able to post on, I guess, the Linux Foundation's kind of Node-related Medium blog, and the other she wanted to put on Free Code Camp, which she's associated with. So I reached out to Zibi to get Jennifer's post posted, and it sounded like that's moving forward. I was just having a conversation that maybe once we finish our first round of mentorship, maybe a post that talks about the program might be a good way to get some more mentors involved, and might just be a good way to talk about this kind of neat thing we're doing as part of Node.
Yeah, and in addition to that, that kickoff. So Michael Dawson yesterday at the ComCom meeting shared that he didn't quite have the bandwidth to commit to mentorship, but he'd love to participate in like a kind of getting to know the project orientation. If we wanted to go and explore that. So we're getting support from TSC members to sort of help facilitate and see how we can blend that in.
While we're on the topic of those articles, my only concern, which is easily remedied, is to not set that we do need to set expectations for mentees. We already have such a disparity. We don't want to like draw a bunch of attention, get thousands more people excited about it. Like, oh, I want to do that. I'm like, cool, we'll get with you in about 3 years. But as long as we mention that in the article that we're trying to build up mentors right now and make that clear, I think that's a good thing.
I agree. Regarding having Michael join, helping out in the mentorship, that would be really amazing. Especially because we need people to help us out, and I believe he'll be able to add a lot to the team and help us out in many ways. But I'm not sure how we'd go about that. Maybe we can invite him to join the bi-weekly meetings, and we can discuss how we can go from there. What are your thoughts?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Do you think we should reach out to him, or?
I think we should build our plan first, and then we can slot him in. So let's build our cohort plan for the next cohort, and then line him up. When we're sort of confident that we have a start date.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's add that as an agenda item.
Cool. That's a great one. Yeah, let's capture that interest and availability, I have a community. JS Interactive agenda item that we could get into, and it relates to this. So I don't want to hijack it with hijack this discussion with Dawson and then drag us into community corner.
Okay. Actually, the lists on the agenda item is quite small, so we can start with that.
So at Node.js Interactive, whatever it's called now, and JS Interactive, there's a sort of B track or unconference track that's being organized by the foundation, and there's an opportunity to present there. Now, Ahmed, I know I sort of nudged you and said, hey, it'd be amazing if you could share something at the Collaborator Summit. And I think that, that stands and we should go do that. But the community corner during the conference session could be a great time to really, do some broader engagement and, introduce folks, to what we're doing with the mentorship program. So, what the thread that connects all three of these things is, be nice to sort of set down like some slides or something about the mentorship program and have some content that we could walk folks to, they begin to use to walk folks through. And I think that could, double dip and serve as the content for JS Interactive.
Yeah, so I'm willing to start creating the slides. I was actually thinking about that when we discussed this earlier. So I can build the slides and share it with you all and iterate over it, basically. I think it's a really good idea to get some exposure in both events, if we can call them. Because most, like in the Collaborator Summit, we're going to have lots of potential mentors. And also in the event itself, the JS event, we can also have more exposure about the mentorship and get more people to join us as well.
If I could jump in for a second, it looks like Ben's got to leave in a second. Is there anything you guys need to address him directly about before he goes?
I was just going to say, I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world if we do get more mentees either, because it allows us to be really picky and get people who we can kind of quickly bring up to being mentors, like we did with Jennifer Bland as well, who's, highly skilled mentee who I think will actually be able to mentor in the next round. So.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna generally want to wait a bit more toward the potential mentor candidates in this cohort as well. As long as we're sort of not at full capacity, we need to wait 60-40, 70-30, 80-20 even towards individuals that have a good possibility of converting into mentors.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I want to say that regardless of the numbers, the effect that the mentorship is having is really nice. I can see contributions and it's going really well. So even if the number stays low initially, I don't have a problem with that as long as we have the same quality standards that we have in the first round.
Right on.
Have we mentioned making the mentorship team kind of a scope of its own, so we can start trying to build that out as our numbers grow too?
What do you mean mentorship team exactly?
We have a finite number of members on the team that coordinate the whole process. So right now we're coordinating 20 people, but once we're coordinating 100 people, we'll need more people on the team as well. So how are we going to go about getting those people on the team?
Absolutely. I think we should always be recruiting for team members. Right now, I think our highest priority should be diversifying up this mix a little bit more. Would love to have some non-male representation on this team to help serve the entire community. So yeah, absolutely. And by going and doing these couple of presentations at JS Interactive, I think we're going to be able to have that sort of closer contact with folks and bring folks in. There were a number of us that joined the ComCom last year coming out of the Collab Summit, including myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, but I believe we should have a general rough idea about the number of people in the team that we need. Because if we're going to be 10 people, that's way over. Basically, the more members we have, the harder the process will become to get consensus and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah. So we should find the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we should continue incrementally, for sure. And, that'll enable us to, build team and flex, right? You all have already both seen, life continues lifing, no matter what is going on in open source. So, if we can, not only find new team members, but find team member purpose and give real responsibility to our new team members. That's what we should be looking to do. Not just add warm bodies, but work to delegate responsibilities.
I agree. At the moment, I feel the most need is to have more people to help us with the kickoff meetings. Because me and AJ and lately just AJ is doing the kickoff meetings.
Right on.
So that's a very critical point to have more coverage on that.
Yeah, I think this might be a good point to bring up the non-issue, the agenda item I don't have an issue for. It's around scheduling those meetings.
Got it.
people who aren't used to or comfortable or just don't want to use Slack have made it very complex for me to try to keep up with all the meetings, because I can't, like, for instance, when the meetings that everybody was on Slack, I could just make a group message on Slack and share the link to the meeting, say, hey, we're about to get started. Does anybody have questions? Whereas if one person is in email, I got to do that in Slack, then go to email and try to find their address in my inbox and, go reach out to them specifically. It's just made it way inconvenient for me. So I think moving forward, we need to make that a hard requirement. Whether it's Slack or some other medium, we need to set a medium for everybody to use. And that should be an agreement of joining the process, is that you agree to use that medium.
Maybe you can go about it in a different way. I don't feel really comfortable like forcing one channel, especially because some people have real reasons why they don't want to use Slack, encryption, security, they just don't like it. Maybe if we have like a document shared between us with how we can contact this person, and like this has to be private, just like the document for the form, basically. But maybe that would be a better idea. What do you think?
I think just the act of the person scheduling the meeting having to use multiple channels is the part that complicates things. So I don't know. I mean, that's been my experience. It's been kind of a nightmare scheduling these meetings between Doodle, Slack, and email. Like, it's really easy to miss stuff. That's why I missed that one, because I sent somebody an email. They never responded, but I didn't think to go check that email and see if they had responded to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm open to other ideas, but I definitely think we need to come up with something before the next round.
Okay, maybe let's open an issue about that and have it like discussed in the issues.
Sure.
Okay. Do you have any ideas, Dan?
Sorry, I was chatting. What was the question again?
It's okay.
So I was just saying it's really hard to coordinate the scheduling when people are using different mediums, where I have to say, I have to go email somebody and say, hey, check the Doodle, and then go to Slack, hey, check the Doodle, and then, okay, your partner said they're okay on, I have to like coordinate between people instead of just having a group message on Slack where I can interface with all the relevant people at once.
Absolutely. The cat herd is brutal.
Because I'm already experiencing that I've only scheduled like 4 meetings and it's been a nightmare. So if we're trying to do like dozens of meetings, I can't even imagine.
Right. So is GitHub an option? Like that, sorry, I always default to that, but that is where most activity in the Node.js project takes place. And if I've had difficulties engaging and interacting with the Node.js projects, it's usually been because I've done things outside of GitHub. So that's kind of the sweet spot. And if we look for solutions that take us back there, or somehow encourage, because we're doing 2 things by building muscle and building habit around GitHub. We're getting folks used to the fact that that is the locus of attention in the Node.js project, and we're getting folks used to operating and acting in the public, right? And how one does in open source, and especially we're kind of at the sort of leading outer edge of sharing the rough bits with the world of how we operate in Node. So yeah, I would iterate toward more GitHub, and I stopped using Doodle by and large over the past year. The main reason being sorry, I'm not going to curse. The cat herd. That cat herd is, oftentimes you spend so much time, getting folks to look at the doodle and, go and align on that. And what I found way more effective is to propose one time and then work from there to do it. And like at a 90% hit rate, I can often just nail it the first time, right? Pick a reasonable time and shoot for that time. And, most of the time I get an acceptance.
So
and it's done.
So Ahmed, you mentioned like privacy concerns, like some things would need to be in private channels. What kinds of things, at least regarding like meeting scheduling, would that be?
Definitely, we can incorporate GitHub in the process, but we also, part of this, like the matching, is basically telling the mentee that we've matched you with this person. So doing it privately will give them like the option to say, I'm not comfortable being mentored by this person, or the mentor saying, I'm not willing to mentor this person because of this reason, or stuff like that. So maybe we can mix both. Like we can contact the person and tell them, go to the GitHub issue and follow up from there, or you can talk to us privately.
Yeah, if that's the main thing, then that could work fine. It's not so hard to set up the initial match. It's once you start trying to go back and forth between them that gets crazy. So we just say, hey, this is your mentee. Is that okay with you? Cool. Let's move this to GitHub now and do all the scheduling and stuff there.
Right. Yeah, I like that. And then, as soon as possible, I think we're going to want to, encourage them to the mentor and the mentee to do their scheduling. And I think if I recall the rules correctly, it's the mentee that's supposed to schedule, right?
No, for the scheduling, it's always been us, but we can change, like we can pivot. Yeah. The mentee is responsible for.
So once we get started, isn't it the?
Yeah,
we're still scheduling everything. Once they're.
No, wait, just the kickoff meeting.
Right. So what I was stating was after the kickoff meeting. So if we can sort of lean toward having them start the expected behavior, and then have them invite the mentorship team, right? So we're not creating a single point of failure. We're creating team effort, and we're basically calling out the team. Hey, someone needs to see if they can make this meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can definitely work. Like we can try it out on the. Yeah, it does.
I think, that sounds good. I think we've got enough there to work with async now, so we can move on.
Cool. Okay. So on the agenda items, like we have the first item is codify the consequence of failure to meet program expectations. So basically, what happens if you fail to meet the expectations of the program? You stopped attending, stopped replying, or...
Right. So me and Dan, we touched on that last meeting, but after rewatching the video, I realized we didn't really codify anything. We just kind of gave one example of what might happen and then said, oh, well, that shouldn't happen because this, we didn't really cover it very well. So I wanted to revisit it just from a more generic standpoint that, there's something that's not necessarily part of the code of conduct, but it's something that we expect not to happen. And yet it happens. What do we do?
I want to ask if Did something like this happen during this round?
It was the thing you notified me about a meeting being missed where we had to reschedule with multiple people.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically what happened, just to give context, is that I started like a doodle, and we have set a kickoff meeting, and everyone agreed on a date. And after that, the mentor stopped replying and didn't attend the meeting. What actually happened is that he was not using Slack, and his Twitter was, his direct messaging was turned off, so I was not able to reach him.
Got it.
So basically, this is the issue that happened.
Right. So he wasn't even aware of the meeting, it turned out, and we got it rescheduled, and that was fine. So that's what I'm saying. This is how the conversation kind of went last meeting, is we were like, oh, well, that's, whatever. So I want to again, reiterate, that's just an example. This is
true.
There could be any number of other things come up that we're not aware of right now that we're like, oh, that's not supposed to happen. And I would like to have something already in place to handle that, rather than just being like, oh crap, something happened, what do we do?
I agree, but I'm kind of scared to set rules at the moment, since like the cases that we know are justifiable for now. And if we put the communication channel around GitHub, this should be like the issue we faced should be eliminated.
Right. Well, what I'm not saying we have to start enforcing this. I'm just saying we need to have like a set of consequences that we can fall back on when we're ready to start enforcing that.
Right. I mean, let's maybe choose different words. Not consequences, but procedures that will support the mentorship team members. Right. We need to. First and foremost, this team needs to, build towards a sustainable process to be able to, help and support our mentors and mentees, right? So if there, are things like, lots of rescheduling or, flaky participants, then, we need to be able to say, all right, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go back in the queue or something like that, right? Like, so let's try to avoid the word consequences, just because, we're volunteers facilitating volunteers, and, everyone's got to eat. So, let's, keep that on the up and up. And
fair enough.
And then, but most of all, I do think we need to make sure that we are protecting our ability to continue doing this, right? So having those processes, having those clearly defined decision points where we can say, hey, I'm sorry, this cohort looks like it's having trouble getting off the ground. We'll be starting another cohort in 3 months. We'd love to work with you. You can continue to collaborate in the channel, see if you have some time to get to know each other. But in terms of official support, the next time will be cohort date.
Right. So now that I think about it, that I actually do have another example. The meeting I mentioned earlier that I missed because the mentor did not respond to the email. I sent another email, created another doodle, said, hey, or I didn't create one, I edited it. I said, hey, I've changed the dates because it's outdated for the second time now. Please fill it out when you get a chance so that we can get your kickoff meeting set up. And that was a couple of days ago, and still haven't gotten a response from that mentor. So I don't know what to do. Because there's no process for when that happens right now.
I think the natural thing to do is just like Dan said, like we just move them to the next round. And if they also fail to join the next round, we just move them to the.
So my only concern with that is that feels a little unfair to the mentee, because they just got kind of kicked out for their mentor not responding. But I mean, I guess if it's the very next round, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ways that we can sort of vet for flakiness is have sort of pre-qualification meetings. So if you come and go through kind of our orientation, right? Then you're ready to be a mentor, and that's basically what that sort of process does for us. Is it has a proof point, right? This individual has a proven ability to show up.
I really like that,
and right, it gets over that will this person doubt of will this person ever show up, and I think that's the best way we can enable that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that a lot.
Okay, maybe we can, before we start the round, we can invite all the mentors that we've chosen to the bi-weekly meeting that we have. This way we get to know them, talk to them, and also we can see who didn't come and go from there.
Right, and in that session we could potentially invite Michael Dawson to come and sort of give the overview of the project kind of a thing.
We may not want to make that a hard requirement though, because some people that time slot may never work for them, but they have plenty of other time slots where they could mentor. So I think as long as we're able to meet with them somehow and get them into any meeting, like preferably it is that meeting, but I'd be hesitant to disqualify someone just because they can't make that exact time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to say that it's any meeting, that meeting, but we can still leverage the fact that they made a meeting, right? So if we need to accommodate somebody in a time zone that is not compatible with our normal meeting time, we can still set up a special session. Even meet with them, one of the team members, one-on-one. But somehow we should, if we're having trouble in that space, we should sort of, have a initial touch point with the mentors. So, we can, but, this will also serve as being able to set expectations.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Even if we don't do like a one-on-one meeting, we can just give them the link and the first communication, sorry, I was not able to attend because of this, or I had personal issues. I think it's reasonable enough to know that the person is still interested and he's gonna follow up on the program. Okay, so I guess we're out of time. So this meeting, we've iterated over the program in 2 points, which is really good, how we start the kickoff meetings, and also how to start the rounds, and also the communication channels. 3 things. So that's good. This is what we need from the beta round, basically, to have this feedback.
When do we think we want to kick off the next iteration? Next cohort? Do we have any idea yet?
Some people finish at the beginning of this month, in September.
Mm-hmm.
And also we have up to the 15th, I believe.
So I had initially shared in the Slack that the second round would start 1 month after the last kickoff, but I regret that. I think it's fine. I think it's fine if there's some overlap, especially now I'm seeing how long it takes to schedule these things.
Right.
So I think if we've got the resources to handle it, we should start it before all of them are finished. Definitely wait until some are finished so we can get some feedback. But I think once we feel like we have enough feedback to iterate on, that would be a good point to start the second.
Okay, I would recommend that we start planning. So we had last time it took us several weeks to go through selection and plan. So whoever, can take an action item and maybe, kick off that first step of, calling for mentors for the next cohort. Right. And let's try to, make sure that we are documenting this process. So, in our third pass, we're just, chunking through the steps.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I was thinking for the second round, maybe we should post an issue in the Node.js node repo where the code lives. This way, I believe we'll have a larger group of mentors, and they will also be mentoring not only in the working groups, but also in the core code itself. Do you think we should wait for the third round, or we can start doing that in the second round?
What was the thing?
So basically, this for the beta round, we didn't speak with anyone in the Node.js node project, the core project where the code lives.
Yes.
So do you think it's a good idea to do that in the second round, or we should wait for the third round?
No, I think we should plan in our prep for this next cohort to go and if possible present to both the ComCom and the TSC. Right, just a little bit of time and sort of get on the agenda for both, and act more proactively invite, right? Not just create an issue out there, but show up to a ComCom meeting, show up to a TSC meeting, and maybe we'll drag Ben along with us, as well as a mentor who's gone through the process, and that you can share the experience that he's had. So little bit of dog and pony presentation and some Q&A with Ben. About 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. That would be really good, and we'll be able to get lots of mentors, hopefully, from that.
Great.
Okay.
So shall we kick off an issue with sort of cohort 2 prep items and listing them out? I'll pile on.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Who's taking it?
I can do it.
Great. I'll take the action item to follow up with Michael Dawson, and I'll put an issue in the repo to track that.
Awesome. Okay.
And
AJ,
I took the action item to create the notes. I'm going to do that, post actively. I don't know if that's a word, from the video.
Sure.
I'm going to go back and watch the video and make
nice.
notes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, please.
Thanks, Eddie. That'd be awesome. Wonderful.
Awesome. Okay. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
If we've got 1 to 2 minutes for a private session.
Yes. Let me shut down the stream. Let me real quick go back to operation. All right.
Did we have any?
There was some discussion, but okay. It was technical discussion about the Node.js project, not mentorship. So cool. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Where to send folks for that? Not sure. Talk to you soon.